in bringing in containers directly through us from China, in the fact that you can put world-class, Boomer, Mega Banger Brothers, and then our new brand just released this year, Cutting Edge, all on the same container. You won't find this advantage from any other importer or distributor of fireworks where you can mix and match this many different brands on one container. Our case minimum quantities, I believe it's a 10 case minimum, some items it's a 15 case minimum, but allowing you to bring in one container with this many different brands directly to your location, or if you had multiple locations and you wanted to mix and match these brands and send the container to location A, B, C, or D, it's going to come straight to your door, can be dropped right there, be unloaded right there. It's the most efficient, direct, cost-effective way for you all to receive merchandise. And as Mick alluded to in his introduction, not only do you have access to the roughly 1,000 items that are on our current price sheet, but you have access to thousands of items that are only available through our container program or X-Order program. So it's a real unique way to differentiate yourself in your locality and in your retailing locations. It's a good way to bring the product in. There's some disadvantages to it, what we'll talk about in a little bit, but no one else will offer you the ability to have this broad of a selection and that low of minimum case quantities to bring in your own direct container. I have the pros and cons listed here. I'm going to start with the pros. Private labels. Those allow your retail customers, it sort of blocks their ability to compare your prices to the folks selling against you. Our minimum case quantities on these are item specific, and we can get into more details of that later. But the bottom line is, if you have your own logo, you have your own brand, you have your own names, and you want to begin a private label or private label assortment or feature a few items, our program is probably one of the industry-leading programs that will allow you to do that. You can customize your assortments. We do, particularly in the safe and sane world, we do a fair amount of customization of safe and sane assortments. We also do a full C-line customizing assortments or private label. Those of you that have participated in the garage sale saw a few of those items that were left over. People didn't take their whole order and authorized us the ability to resell those items because they were unable to take their full allotment. Again, we talked about mixing an order or mixing the order on a container for multiple locations. I think I mentioned that, where you can put those 5 different brands on the same container, multiple different locations. Important thing for you here is you have no liability if the items fail CPSC. That falls on us. We'll replace that or a similar item from our warehouses. We take all the paperwork out of it, the liabilities off your shoulders. Basically, Mick likes to use the word turnkey when we describe this program, and that's really what it is. It's a huge advantage for you all to do this. If you're thinking about this or looking at it or buying in bulk already from the warehouses, this is the easiest, simplest way for you all to have the broadest selection of product available. I talked about the number of items that you can pick from. We do have lower minimum quantities than the rest of the industry, and in general, it's ultimately the lowest way to acquire the product, the lowest price way to acquire that product. And those of you that have been importing for years know that on occasion the warehouse price may be lower than the container price, vice versa. You're always guaranteed the best price as to however that grades out. Sometimes our competitors that we compete with in the wholesale market will cut the heart out of an item. We'll have to match that item. It may be a little different than what the container pricing is. I told you all the good, right? I promise I tell you a little bit of the cons here, the bad. You really need to have your order into us as early as possible. And that's in that August, September, October time frame. The later you go, the harder it is to procure all those products, find buyers, etc. We had a customer that wanted an extremely high number of private label firecrackers this year. And there's only really two, 3, 4 factories that will even entertain the idea of making firecrackers, and they gave us that order so late. We were able to get that order placed, but we're not going to be able to fulfill everything they wanted because of how late they waited, and also because of the quantities they were looking at. A couple of other things that are out of our control. If you watch the news in the last couple of weeks, they had an earthquake in China. It's rained for about 45 straight days, which slows their production down. as well as there was a factory that makes Roman candles that actually had a fire and exploded. So those are sort of things that even with the best laid plan, the most sophisticated internet, ordering system, quantities available, everything that you've done right, can't account for a fire, an earthquake, and rain. However, we will back you up, support you with our warehouses, and make sure that you're going to have a sampling, if not the exact item, you're going to have a very similar item that you'll be able to sell at a very similar acquisition cost. So just something to think about. We wanted to showcase this program. We think that it's different than what other wholesalers or importers offer you all as customers of ours, and we'd really like to see you take advantage of this. We think it will ultimately help you in your margins, let you differentiate yourselves through the ability of leveraging private label, and ultimately succeed in the retail part of your business.